Uh, Welcome everybody to Stress 101. Um, I decided to put this module up specifically to make sure that people have a good, solid understanding of what's really going on, particularly when it comes to like definitions, terms, stuff like that. Stress, burnout, these kind of words are used a lot. Everybody has a pretty good understanding of what they are, but there are some details, there are some intricacies that get messed up and mixed around a lot. And if you're here, it's because these details are going to matter to understand what's happening and how we can try to help you get through it. Also, I just want to make sure everybody's kind of on the same page, has all the basic information, all that kind of fun stuff. So if some of this stuff seems kind of trivial or kind of like, super easy, please try to pay attention a little bit anyways, because there's probably some stuff hiding in here that you may not know as well as you think you do. And I said a lot of things just kind of get phrased weird out in the real world. But I hope this is educational. I hope this helps. Ultimately, this whole section, the Burnout Stress 101, is to show you what's really going on inside of your body, because it's probably not exactly what you think it is. And then pull up some of the science and some of the research that's behind the information that's in this slide, so we can get you guys a little better educated and, like I said, ultimately give you better ideas and better understanding on the stuff that we can do to help make you feel better. Um, so, without further ado, we will dive in. Okay, most of you know, particularly if you've been doing high performing work stuff, first responders, leadership positions. Um, Stress is part of what happens, and it's inherently not a bad thing. Um, Stress in the right amounts and the right timing is super helpful. Um, Stress is your body being kind of under a little extra pressure from just kind of sitting around watching TV, just doing chill shit. Um, but the problem is when you trigger stress so much that your body forgets how to turn it off naturally, and or you don't turn it off on purpose, which is a lot of where we're going to go after this. So the debrief, all these lessons, we're not trying to make a stress-free life where everything is magical and nothing ever worries you and everything is perfect. Most of you are still working, still running businesses. Stress is a part of the life. It's not going away. For some of you, it might be getting worse soon. So this is how to lean into that and keep yourself as healthy as possible. So kind of how we break this down, acute versus chronic. Acute just means short term. Something happens a couple hours. You get a bad phone call, your body reacts, within a short time after, definitely within a couple hours, you should calm back down. Stress from phone calls should go away and you should be back to operating normally. This is what normal stress is supposed to do. This is how your body's supposed to respond to stuff. It helps keep you alert. It helps keep you moving faster. Um, it can be performance enabling, enhancing for a short period. But again, it's like nitrous on a car. It works for a moment, but if you try to run it like that all the time, bad things happen. Which kind of leads into the chronic spot. If you've been doing this for weeks, months, years, some of us decades, um, your body's ability to kind of go back to baseline, normal, calm, because you're just here, 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 here. Your body kind of forgets what that bottom part is supposed to feel like. And eventually, you're, you know, I use a lot of card analogies when it comes to stress, so bear with me. But, you're stretching out seals, you're wearing out seams, your hosing's starting to get worn out, your belts are stretched because they're overworking, they're running too fast, and nothing ever calms down. If you're running all the time, you never slow down and get tune-ups. Like, you can't run a car at 120 miles an hour, pedal to the wall the whole time, all the time. It does not work. The car will start breaking down. And that's basically where burnout is kind of coming in. That's where the chronic stress is. So, how this actually works in your body. This lesson will have a decent bit of biology and like what's actually going on, because again, that's what we're going to start targeting is your biology to calm all this stuff down. So this runs on what they call an HPA axis. Basically what happens is something triggers in your body. It hits your amygdala, which is a tiny little basic core part of your brain at the very top of your spinal cord. That talks to your hypothalamus, and your hypothalamus is kind of like the operator switch. Where does this information go inside of your brain? If it detects a threat, if stress is induced, it's like, oh, we need to react fast. It feeds information to your pituitary gland to release, cortisol, adrenaline, all those kind of hormones that everybody just talks about that get your body hyped up and ready to deal with that stress stuff, which is fine. Again, that's how your body works. That's how your body is supposed to work. The catch is there's supposed to be an off switch. And when that off switch gets messy or broke, that's when we start running into issues. So fancy terms for this is allostasis versus allostatic load. So allostasis is that reaction from the HPA where your body's feeling more energized. You get the action going on. Your heart rate's a little faster. Breathing might be a little shallower, pulling in some oxygen. It helps your body physically kind of snap in and hyper focus on stuff, which again is great in certain circumstances for a short period of time. Allostatic load is the wear from you snapping in, you just hitting the NOS in the car all the time. And then eventually, things that are supposed to move start getting stretched, tires start getting burnout, all the wear and tear starts happening. Allostatic load basically means that you've shifted your normal calm state off of normal, and now the new normal is actually a permanent set of stress. It's a permanent state of stress that's slightly higher, and that's your body now just comes back to that, and it can't go lower because you've just been in stress mode and you've been in that APA loop for so many times for so long, and that's what we're trying to push back against right now. So the thing with biology is everything is a push and a pull. If you look at, neuroreceptors and the neurochemicals that the dopamine loops and the serotonins and all the stuff that everybody talks about, there's always a positive and a negative. There's a chemical that tells your body to do something, and then there's a second chemical that tells your body to turn off. And one of those is out of balance. There's problems, obviously, because if it can't turn on, that's obviously not good. If it can't turn off, that causes problems also. So the problem with the burnout stuff is we keep turning that stress system on, but we're not providing the cues to turn it back off. And that's what we're going to be targeting a lot in the debrief. So it's the main things that we're looking at is your parasympathetic nervous system and your sympathetic nervous system. If you don't know what those are, basically your nervous system works in like a stress mode or like a ready state, a hyperactive state, the fight or flight, or it works in what they call rest and relaxation, where it calms back down. Your nervous system really kind of runs on like two speeds. So the stress response, as you can imagine, turns on that parasympathetic nervous system, that fight or flight, to get you moving fast. We need to be able to access the rest and digest and tell your nervous system that it's time to use the calm version. Things that help activate it are deep sleep, co-regulation, being a calm environment, stuff like that, kind of just absorbing the good energies and kind of absorbing the calm, which for some of you, depending on your work, stuff like that can be really hard to find. But the safety cues is what we're going to be focusing on a lot, because I will show you through other lessons, stuff like the breathing, where you can self-activate a safety cue to your body to turn on that calmer system. But ultimately, we're looking at helping you turn on the stress responses when you want or when they just happen, and then give you control on how to calm it back down so that you can kind of shift gears basically with your nervous system as needed. Because again, we're not trying to remove stress out of your life. It's not going to happen. It'd be a big fail. I can't do that. I'm not that good. But I can teach you what the stress is, what to look for, and how to control a lot of how your body reacts to it when your body reacts to it. Um, so there are good things coming, I swear. So again, it's this the stress response stuff like that, like pushing through it, hoping for the better. I just need a vacation. My boss would just stop calling me, or if the Susie and admin would stop giving me a hard time. Like, we can't control any of that stuff. That's all outside people. It's all outside forces. It's going to do what it's going to do. You just trying to hope and push and will through them doesn't work. You've probably all tried it at least a little bit and found that it doesn't work. So again, it's those safety cues that we need to learn to get it, to give you the control to be able to do it as you need it. You trying to push through it and push through it and push through it and push through it is the problem. Because again, you're leaning into stress and you're trying to answer it by leaning into stress more. And I understand that's part of the process, and sometimes that has to happen. A lot of times that has to happen, but there needs to be a spot where it stops and you pause and you rest before you do it again. That's the part that usually gets missed. Is you just lean into stress, another problem, and that's where what's happening and why you're probably here. And again, and I understand it. I've been through it. I lived through it. I still live through it. Everybody does. But it's about understanding what's happening so that you have the choices of how to deal with it better in a more healthy way. Okay, so that's stress and burnout, and just kind of a quick rundown of what we're going to start diving into. The next sections inside of this lesson, we'll start diving into the details and start breaking this apart. I hope this has a little bit of excitement to it, because, again, understanding what's going on allows us to teach you the tools to be able to start fighting back. As you know, introductions usually aren't the most exciting things in the entire world, so thank you for bearing with me. But more good things, and I would like to say better things, are coming very soon. You'll also notice during the lesson there's going to be some downloads. There's some quick reference sheets and some other stuff to kind of work through. I would highly, highly, highly recommend you download those, flip through those. It's good information, and a lot of the stuff that I'm talking about, it'll kind of consolidate down so you can keep it with you to kind of review and stuff quickly if you want. That's all I have for this one, and I will see you in the next one.